Hello all, welcome back. So I'm going to talk quickly about databasing in STK and the use of stk-vis. So stk-vis is a piece of software that Lucas wrote, Lucas being the main developer of STK, to look at databases of molecules. So the introduction to STK and the documentation covers, this is a screenshot of stk-vis, and it covers what it can do. If we look at the actual databases, if we look at the molecule database, it's a abstract base class for getting and putting molecules, where you get a molecule based on its key, which can be anything, but normally we use like a smile string or an inchy key, for example. The MongoDB implementation of this is what stk-vis uses, and it's more specific than that, but basically allows you to use the PyMongo Python library to generate either a local or remote MongoDB database of your molecules. And there's some examples here. There's heaps of examples of what you might want to do. What I wanted to show is it from the stk-vis side. So if we go to stk-vis on Lucas's GitHub, we can go through the documentation. This demo video is probably better than this. I just wanted to show very quickly how to do this using some of the examples here. So we want to, let's say we have a, let's get the number of atoms and energy of a series of molecules. So what I want to show first is this constructed molecule DB. I'm just going to copy this, and I also want to show the value DB, which I think is quite useful. I'm going to separate this out though. We want to first define the client through PyMongo. Run that. Oh, we need to import, sorry. We then want to define our databases. So we have two value DBs, which have the number of atoms and the UFF energy as their collections. And let's define a constructed molecule database. So all of these strings here, or arguments, basically define a unique collection of molecules based on a unique collection of position matrix and building block position matrix and so forth. This is the default, and this will open up like the default STK database on your local machine, which I will show in a second. So we define that database. Now let's take this constructed molecule. Let's use STK. No, let's just use this function because it's easier. Get the UFF energy, and we can do that. And that should put our polymer into the constructed DB and the number of atoms and energy DB. So let's now open stk-vis and see if that is indeed what has happened. Oh, I've already opened it. Yep. So you need to make sure that the key name, the collection names all match what you've defined. So the default key is the inchy key. And we can look at building blocks and or constructed molecules. Let's just do constructed molecules because this is what we've generated here. And click search, and it finds the one we generated, and that's good. I've previously kind of messed this database up, so it's got some other things, but if we sort by num atoms, we have 26 atoms, cool. And then UFF energy is there. So let's actually sort by UFF energy instead. Cool. So that's one molecule. Let's take something we generated previously. Oh, actually one thing I wanted to show is if we click this zoom in button, we can see the building blocks that we used. and we haven't calculated their properties, so their properties are empty, but we have those molecules and we could calculate their properties if we wanted to. So if we go back to our cage building example, and let's do this one. Cool. And we go to our stk-vis code, we generate the cage, and let's deposit it into the database. Go cage 1, put there, there. Run. It worked, good. Now this hasn't been refreshed, but if we go back and we search again, we now have this molecule and the molecule we constructed. Obviously the 2D representation of a cage is not trivial, so let's actually just remove that because it's not really telling us anything. But you can see, oh, I've lost it, refresh. You can see the cage we constructed it, which is the same as what we visualized previously. Then we can sort these by their UFF energy, and it tells you something. Nothing meaningful in this case, but we can very easily go into this further, and then we can look at the actions. We can zoom in and look at our building blocks. So we have this building block and this one here. So I'm not going to go too much further into stk-vis because there's a lot you can do with it. You can do this, you can have remote Mongo databases loaded up in stk-vis, which is very powerful for sharing with collaborators, for example. And there's a lot of examples on the documentation. So I'm going to stop it here and go on to the next video. Thank you.